Well, I'm a little bit late this morning. I apologize for that. I've posted a couple of funny little things today on Facebook. If you're watching this on YouTube, uh, I apologize. But anyway, I posted just right beneath this video here on my Facebook page the link to a YouTube video, which is really video audio of a song that my partner Charles D. Harris, also known as Charlie Packard in his later years, we wrote back in 1966. And in those days, we were fledgling songwriters and peddling our wares in Hollywood. And believe it or not, we're miraculously successful in our own ways of getting our songs published, and then getting signed as recording artists with the Epic label, which was owned by CBS, Columbia. But anyway, the first song that we recorded on our album, which came out in 1969 or 1970, was called The Theme from Mount Oread. Now, Charlie and I both were we fancied ourselves as sort of mystical guys, because that was sort of the genre we aspired to. We were very inspired by the poetry, the poetic songs of Bob Dylan, and the Beatles we saw as not only a rock phenomenon, but a cultural, philosophical phenomenon. And we loved later on with like Cat Stevens and Donovan and sort of the mystical types. And it was pretty easy for us because in those days we were, I would say, experimenting with, but actually we were utilizing psychedelic substances such as LSD and psilocybin. And we were lucky enough to have incredibly good connections with people in Timothy Leary's circle of friends down there in Laguna Beach, and so we always had the very, very finest and hashish and but we didn't do it as a party type thing. We actually did it for kind of meditative purposes and setting and all of that. And I had an old occult dictionary that it was almost like a pamphlet. It was not anything really fancy. It wasn't a wiser book. It's just a occult dictionary. And on days that Charlie and I would get together for the purpose of writing a new material for the album and such, we would get moderately stoned on fine Afghani hash and have some coffee and start kicking things around. And then we used that occult dictionary for bibliomancy. And we just flip open the book at random and put my finger down, and the thing I put my finger down on is what we'd write a song about. And that afternoon, I put it to Sylphs. And then the subcategory is a subcategory of elementals, sylphs and gnomes and undines, salamanders. So we wrote that song, and we call it Theme for Mount Oread. Mount Oread is a mythical nature spirit, mountain type thing. And for shallow young men that we were remarkably prophetic, as it turns out. The song goes, sylphs and gnomes and undines to salamanders beckon you. Astrally, I think I've been here before. And the refrain is, and I think there's room for one more person. And then elves and Bilbo's magic rings, leprechauns and brownie kings. Spacedly, I've the time to see it all. We were spaced. Spacedly, I've the time to see it all. And yes, I think there's room for one more person. My own eye, me mirror be. Neophyte, he turned the key. Paradoxically, I weep to laugh. And yes, I think there's room for one more person. Anyway, I posted that song. We recorded it at CBS in the big Studio A with Larry Knechtel and Joe Osborne and much better musicians than we are. Of course, we're playing on it too. But anyway, last month, the local OTO here, 418 Oasis, sort of just has a get-together at the beautiful Rose Garden here at McKinley Park, just literally down the street from us here. It's one of the most beautiful rose gardens in the world. And 418's lodge master volunteers to help prune and stuff, because it is one of the country's largest and most beautiful rose gardens. And we meet there and we just sort of shoot the shit and just keep in touch with each other between Oasis events and things like that. And I thought I had an idea that I wanted to spring on everybody as things worked out. We didn't have really time for it then, but we're going to meet this afternoon. So if we're going to meet this afternoon, wait to see this tomorrow. Otherwise, it's going to spoil the surprise. But anyway, here's my idea, and this is how I'm going to kick it off today. It occurred to me last month when we got together here at the garden. I mentioned that I might want us to try a little magical experiment using the technology of our cell phones. Now, I think we've all got both a camera and a recording app on our cell phones. If you don't think you have a sound recorder on your phone, I bet someone here can look at your phone and help you find it. I'm hoping each of us can utilize both. Now, do you see the Venetian blinds behind me there? We see this entire backyard. It's beautiful, Constance. There's sylphs and gnomes out there right now. But we see the whole, we're overloaded by the image of that scene in the backyard there. But if I'd close the Venetian blinds and block out all of it, and then just step to the window and just peek through one little slit, my whole attention, my whole gaze, my whole absorption of what I'm seeing would be focused on a tiny, tiny little slit. And I'd be able to see just that narrow cross section of that view. And then I could see, if I squinted enough, I could see individual leaves, and I could see movement as the breeze blows over that individual leaf. And it's like when you were a kid and you'd go out at night with a drinking straw and hold it up to your eye and find one star. And as you look at that one star, it's not magnified or anything. If you look at that one star, you see the essence of its atmospheric twinkle, or you'd see the subtlety of its, it might be a little orange or something. In other words, you would bring your attention to a very, very simple level, and you would, in a sense, instead of being bombarded with the Milky Way, you'd see the essence, the soul of a single star. That's what I was going to try to do with this phone thing. Okay, here it is. The idea is this. Right now, we're sitting in one of the most beautiful flower gardens in the country. And even though we're right in the middle of the city, right next to a very busy street, this garden is nonetheless energized and populated by all the natural forces that we could magically characterize as elemental spirits. Fire salamanders, riding the sunbeams and brooding in the soil as fertilizing nitrogen. Water undines, or undines, splashing around in the duck pond and bird bath and sprinklers. Air sylphs, wafting through the breeze, carrying the sweet bouquet of all these flowers, not to mention the medium of the air itself that carries every sound vibration that our ears hear. And of course, the gnomes of the earth and all of this compost and soil and stones around us. As noisy and as busy as this flower garden is, it is, from the magician's point of view, a megalopolis of sylphs, all cavorting around, doing fragrant sylph stuff, committing lewd natural acts on the love couch of every passing breeze and every breath we take. And they're not just in the sweet-smelling air. They live in every sound we're hearing right now, and every image that passes through their etheric domain to titillate the cones and rods of our eyes with all this beauty around us. So, with that in mind, here's what I'd like us to do. I want us each to first invoke and then take a picture of the sovereign sylph Paralda, and also listen to the voice of Paralda talking to us. I want each of us to find a spot here in the garden that you feel attracted to. Make it as quiet and private as you can, because you might be mumbling a few things. Find an individual flower or plant where you feel a sylph would be happy. Take a picture of that spot. Then with your finger, draw the 2 pentagrams in the air. Now, everybody's getting this handout, okay? They're getting this handout. It's got the pair of the Sylphs there. And if they're more heavy-duty guys, they got the Enochian brief little ceremony to open up the elemental tablet of air and the air of air subangle, plus the Enochian call itself. They could just mumble that. It only take about 2 minutes to do all of that. Then draw with your finger, the 2 pentagrams of air near that spot. If you wish, you can intone the divine names Eheya and Yod-He-Vav-He and make the signs and the opening of the closing of the veil and the sign of the god Shu. You can also intone, there's the opening and closing of the veil, and there's the sign of the god Shu. I had to show you that. I'm proud of my preschool skills. You can also intone the appropriate hierarchy of names: Exharp, Shaddai El-Chai, Raphael, Ariel, Hassan, and Paralda. No matter how much or how little you do, repeat the name Paralda, Paralda, Paralda 3 times. Then recite the prayer to the Sylphs. And I'll probably read over the prayer to the Sylphs even before we start this thing. Or if you feel adventurous, do the 3rd Enochian call. When you've finished your invocation, turn on your recorder and be silent for around 30 seconds. Finally, take a second picture. Only this time, hold your Sylph detector over the lens of your camera. Okay, what's a Sylph detector? Let's see here. Constance made our Sylph detectors for us. She made up 10 of these, so there's more than 10 people they're going to have to share. It is simply that Venetian blind. But there's also just a little bit of distorting cellophane trapped in between your Sylph detector. So that's one picture before with no Sylph detector, one picture hopefully in about the same position through the Sylph protector or detector. Now, what does that prove? Absolutely nothing. Except it gives you something to take home. Because every sound in your 30 seconds that you recorded was Paralda talking to you. Was Paralda responding to your invocation. And everything you see through the distorted, and it's not really distorted, I took a couple pictures, it looks pretty much the same, except that when you start to play with it, contrast and stuff all that equipment you've got on your phone already, different things start to appear in your image. I'm not saying you're going to do anything, hear anything, see anything. Can't guarantee that. And of course, even if you do see something, it really doesn't prove that much. But what it does do is require you to create that Venetian blind in your own magical viewpoint, because that's where you see what Goethe was talking about, Now first I understand what he, the sage, has said. The world of spirits is not shut away. Thy sense is dead. Or thy sense is closed. Thy heart is dead. All those little Venetian blind tricks is to open your sense and resurrect your heart. Finally, take a second picture from the same position, only this time hold your Sylph detector over the lens of the camera. That's it. And here's a copy of Eliphas Levy's Prayers to the Sylphs, along with the 2 pentagrams that invoke the element of air, along with the classic divine names and sigils that charge those pentagrams, and Enochian call number 3, and the divine name of the elemental tablet of air. Air, bear, subangle. Okay. Now, I'm not expecting people to go out in that garden and perform great big rituals and draw huge pentagrams and bellow all of these names. No. This is all just very subtle stuff. Just as soon as we're through here at this centralized meeting point, we just go off and for a few moments, holding our little scripts in hand, quietly take a picture, quietly, just with your finger, invoke the little things. Ehia, Yahweh, or however you say Yodevave, or whatever you know how to do to invoke an individual element of air. Then, briefly, you don't even have to say it out loud. Read your prayer to the Sylphs. Spirit of light, spirit of wisdom, whose breath gives and takes away all forms of all things, thou before whom the life of every being is a shadow which transforms, and a vapor which passes away. Thou who ascendest upon the clouds and dost fly upon the wings of the wind, thou who breathest forth and the limitless immensities are peopled, thou who drawest in, and all which came forth from thee unto thee returneth. Endless movement in the eternal stability, be thou blessed forever. We praise thee, we bless thee, in the fleeting empire of created light and shadows, reflections and images, and we aspire without ceasing toward thine immutable and imperishable splendor. May the ray of thine intelligence and the warmth of thy love descend on us. That which is volatile shall be fixed. The shadow shall become body. The spirit of air shall receive a soul, and dream be thought. We shall be swept away no more before the tempest, but shall bridle the winged steeds of the morning and guide the course of the evening winds, that we may flee into thy presence. O Spirit of spirits, O eternal soul of souls, O imperishable breath of life, O creative sigh, O mouth which doth breathe forth and withdraw the life at all beings in the ebb and flow of thine eternal speech, which is the divine ocean of movement and of truth. Amen. Turn on your tape recorder, count to 30, turn off your tape recorder, take the second picture, and take all of that home and play with it. keeping in mind that all of it, in a sense, is Peralta. Until tomorrow, when you can report in, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love's the law, love under will.